So welcome back, James, and thank you so much. Now we're going to talk today about targets. We had that really good review conversation when you were able to share where you're at with all of your professional practice. And the idea today is that we'll get really clear on the targets that you want to achieve, and we'll look at ways of measuring and evaluating them. So we left the last session when I shared a couple of sort of parameters, guidelines for those targets for you. So just tell me where you're at. Tell me where you're at generally with your targets and thoughts about targets for this year.
So having reflected on our conversation the other week, funnily enough, I've actually been asked to develop a scheme of work, a short scheme of work for coaching for my sevens and eights. So that it naturally came about anyway. So that's something I want to talk about. In relation to the other area was marking and trying to make my marking more consistent and doing it regularly. And so talking about how I could do that would be helpful. And then I was aware that last time there was that tension between, although I enjoyed supporting others and helping people around, looking out for people in around school, if I'm not in the staff room because I'm only there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that kind of defeats the whole, or reduces the amount of potential I have to check in on people and see how everybody is doing.
Okay, fine. Well, thank you for that. I mean, and it does sound like we've got those three core areas, haven't we? We've got an interesting stretch. Sometimes people call it passion project, right? You've got then something to do with your core job, but then also something that's a bit more whole school, but in that pastoral nurture way. So let's spend a bit of time on each of those three and talk about what you're going to do and a bit about how you're going to measure it. So should we start with the coaching one? So how did this evolve then, this idea of a scheme of work for year 7 and 8?
So through school, I've just completed the Elim 7 certificate, which has been brilliant. And I've been coaching some of the staff, and I've also had the opportunity to coach two or three kids as well, 2 or 3 students. And through that development over this last term, these last 2 terms, I was asked the other day if I would be interested in taking a year 7 and 8 class, or the 7 and year 8 group, and then developing coaching within that framework. So I'd be given 3 hours over a period of 3 weeks, which would basically be a mini scheme of work that would be repeated, because with groups of about 10 to 20. And then so looking at how that would work, developing, maybe it would require developing a scheme of work and resources that would look at basic coaching skills.
Okay. And you say you were asked, like who asked you, and what is it that they're looking for you to achieve by doing this?
They are looking at we do some work, STEM work, on Tuesdays or on a particular time in the afternoon for all the different year groups. And one of them is looking at how they can develop their thinking. And so coaching could quite easily fit into that in terms of asking questions and the ability to listen, and also the ability to set targets. And so they were interested to know whether or not that would work with that. And I thought that would be quite a good idea.
Okay. So and when you said years, thank you for that. The year 7 or 8, is it just students you work with, or is it like going to be the whole year group or selected students?
It would be the year group do this particular topic over the year, and so it would be taking a group of, let's say, for example, I took 12 kids, 12 students, and then I would work with them for a period of 3 hours over a period of 3 weeks, looking at a specific content for each week. And then I'd be given another group, and then I'll work on them. So by the end of, say, I don't know, a Lent term of 6 weeks, 9 weeks, then the whole of year 7 will have been gone through this particular process. And that would go alongside other different units that other people were doing at the same time.
Okay, right. Okay, so there's something consistent and dovetails into other things that are going on for these
Yeah.
students? Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of, I mean, clearly you're talking about you need to do planning and work out your schemes of work and so on. In terms of getting time available to do this, all of the planning, is that something you need to just find in your discretionary time, or something you can build into PPA, or
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
yeah,
Sorry.
so the time, like the time for doing the planning and the organizing of that, do you have that time within PPA, or is it going to be discretionary time?
It would probably be a bit of both. I usually get into school quite early anyway, so there's definitely time between when I'm in school in the morning early, but my day's quite busy. So the other time will be having to spend time probably during the summer holidays setting up what I think would work, because I'd probably want to do some either a booklet that they could fill in, which they take with them, which means that they can take it away with their work, and also some planning in relation to this slides or something in the background that would introduce skills or videos or something that we could work together. And it's something that as we do it, it will get better. So there'll be a opportunity, I guess. I will have to take the opportunity to refine it as each session goes on, because it will be the first time we've done it.
Yes, fine. Thank you. Okay, so and is that okay to be putting in some of your own time to do this planning?
Yes, because I think I see the value in it, so it's going to cost me in terms of my time.
Yeah.
But if I plan it well, then not only will I have put it in a place that doesn't overwhelm me, but also the impact of doing those skills will have a huge effect on the kids.
Yes.
Which is definitely beneficial.
Fine.
It
Okay.
far outweighs my time.
Thank you for that, and it's great to hear that commitment. And you have preempted my next question, which is impact. So the project, if this goes well, you said it will have a huge impact, but what do you mean by huge impact? What would you like to see?
You're gonna have to say that again. I'm having real problems with the internet. I don't know why. Sorry.
Yeah, no, okay. I'll ask my question briefer. What impact do you think you would like to see for these kids?
I would like them to be able to sit at the dinner table when they're at home and implement those skills. So it may be taking a question home and practicing listening to the conversation at the table, as opposed to either not talking at all or not taking, but yeah, or giving advice where advice isn't needed. So for me, the development of this is much greater. It would impart in terms of asking questions in the classroom and having clarity in terms of the ability to listen, because you know how great students can be at listening to what's being said to others sometimes. And so the ability to sit and listen and actually have some self-control in those moments without and staying focused would be really beneficial in lots of different subjects.
Great, thank you. Okay, so it sounds like a really wide impact benefit in school and out of school as well. Okay. Let's move to the second topic, if that's okay. So this second topic here about about you and marking. And you mentioned it last time that it was an area that you have an approach and a style you like, but you're not quite doing it frequently enough. So what do you want to make as a target for this part of your core role?
I think for me, it would be to consistently mark a piece of work. So for example, I think what I will want to do is, and I do this already, but the marking tends to be, probably, if I'm honest, a bit more erratic. Yes. So what I want to do is be very specific in terms of here is the piece of work that needs to be marked, and to set a deadline that has to be marked by the following week, or so that I can, because ultimately I want, when I was in a previous job, the marking was very much conversational. So I would set a question, and then they would answer the question, and then as I marked the next piece of work, it would come back, and there would be a a conversation of, oh, how did you get on? What did you enjoy? Why was that tough? And so rather than it becoming very much, rather than it being, oh, you got 9 out of 10, and that was really good because you asked a great question, it becomes more of why, you know, what was it about this that you found challenging, or what was it about this particular word that you know, what does this word highlight for you? You know, why did you use this word, or why did you not use that word, or why did you do it this way? And then that allows them to have a conversation with me in my marking in a way that is opening them up to using those skills that we're trying to evolve in the coaching as well.
Okay. So there's a you started already talking about the benefit. Be really clear about, like, what would this mean for you? Like, what you would put into place if you're going to write it down on a piece of A4. You say, I will do X on.
So I will do. So I will create, what would it be, 6 pieces of work, and then an assignment on those 6 pieces of work, which follow the 6 terms. Whether or not I mark outside of that is something else. But for these pieces of work, I will set the work, set the assignment, and then I will then set a time frame which will be for that piece of work to be marked within a week, to then be handed back the next following week's lesson, or over the next 2 lessons. So to recap, there'll be an assignment at the end of every term, every half term, and there'll be a time frame for me to mark it by and feedback to.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, and you talked before about the impact you want to see for the students responding in this way. What about the impact for you as a teacher, knowing that this is your method, your system?
I think for me, it follows my style in terms of wanting to help the pupils thrive. So anything that comes up that is noticeable allows me to then engage in conversation within the class, not just on a piece of paper. So somebody's come up with a really interesting, out of the blue kind of thinking. It enables me to then access that. Whereas if they hadn't had that conversation with me, or hadn't written that down, it would require much more of me pursuing them within the class. So it just gives me another avenue of finding out about that particular pupil and a strength or a weakness that I can engage in.
Okay. So then that's giving you extra resources as a teacher to carry on bringing your students on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, super. Anything else it would bring you?
It would definitely bring me clarity on the individuals. It would help me with in terms of assessment for following lessons. It would give me an understanding as to areas of difficulty or weakness in the student. It would also show me what I was doing well and what I wasn't. You know, if a unit came back and the marking was, well, you know, Mr. Barringer, I found it really tricky, and it was really tricky because I didn't understand these things, and then that allows me to reflect on my own teaching and go back and change something that may not have worked as well as I thought it did.
Yes. Okay. So there's a whole load of evidence and data and guidance you can get from doing it in this way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. So that's that second one in the tin. Let's look at the third one. That third one that you started talking about, being aware that your colleagues who want to benefit, or you want them to benefit from, like, the nurturing side of you. If you are only there in the middle of the week, Tuesday to Thursday, that's harder to do. So what thoughts have you got as a target?
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, so before I was saying the fact that because I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, having the conversation about how was the weekend is a bit harder because it's a Tuesday. And so for me, I need to think about places that I can have those conversations. So sometimes I find that if I've got a lesson that I'm to prepare for, that I might step away and sit down at a desk and be working at that to prepare for my lesson, just after break. Whereas one of the reflections I had after our session was actually I need to plan before I get to, you know, I need to better organize my time, so that I can sit in at break time and lunchtime and not be working, and prioritize that.
Okay. So prioritizing being available so that you can have that care.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the key word there is availability. I like to make sure that I'm ready for my lessons. So I would have planned beforehand, and then I'm going over it before I get to my lesson. But the temptation of that is that then I'm not being available for having those conversations at the key times.
Okay. And what does good look like for this? I mean, is it like every day, both lunch and dinner in the staff room, or is it some
Yeah,
days,
it's not
half, or what?
it's not, and it's not looking, it's not, it's not that I'm necessarily looking out for people's problems. That's what I'm not, it's not like that. It's more a case of being available to hear what's going on for people, and therefore being able to pick that up later in the week, maybe.
Yes.
Sometimes you can hear something in a staff room which isn't appropriate to continue with,
Yes.
but actually one-to-one is going to have a bigger impact.
Yes.
Yeah, that answers the question.
Okay. You sound like you're mulling. You sound like you're dwelling.
Yeah, it's just I was just reflecting on the fact that that the thoughts that came to mind is, you know, often two things. First of all, as staff, many teachers are aware. You know, I know many teachers who are actually in the same situation, where actually we do find ourselves we put everything into making sure the lesson works really well, and yet sometimes the need to prioritize ourselves and be in the staff room and have that downtime is really important. Not necessarily for the sake of telling everybody what our major problems are, but just being in a place of, oh, I'm actually in a place with an adult, and I'm enjoying people's company.
Yes.
So that's kind of what was there.
Understood. So you're giving people the benefit of you being around, and then you can engage with them at that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And does that target feel more or less tangible than some of your other targets?
I think that's more fluid. Although one thing that would be significant would be to make the action of, right, I will, for example, I will make sure that at least 2 of the break times of my 3 days I am in the staff room.
Okay.
Whether that is lunchtime or break time, but 2 of those I'm in the staff room.
Yes. Okay. So you can give yourself some rules of thumb. You can make it something explicit. Okay, fab. Okay. So we've got the targets. You've taught them through. You've elaborated them, and you also looked a little bit about the potential impact. So let's look a bit at obstacles. What might get in the way of each of those 3 things?
One might be if I'm honest, one might be exhaustion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on outside of my job at the moment, and so that sense of trying to, whether it's moving house or trying to move the kids' schools or all that kind of stuff that's taking place, the time available outside of school may be limited, which may affect the development of the coaching side of things.
Yes.
So that would definitely be an obstacle. You know, having not being organized.
Yeah.
You know, not having the right. I specifically like marking in a pencil and a green and pink pen. So not being organized and having the equipment ready for me to do the marking that I need to do, or maybe having a lesson plan, having the time planned and then having to be put on cover. Those kind of things which arise without you, without, you know, without having, they just come up and you have to jump to them rather than, having a sense of space where you're having that time to do.
Yes. Okay. Well, no one's going to let you off the hook for cover, are they? That's part of teacher's life. But and knowing that these type of obstacles might come up, can you take away from today thoughts about how to mitigate them, how to make sure that the impact of those obstacles is minimal?
Yeah, definitely. I think it for me, I love having the right process in place. So thinking about how I'm going to work out when my time frame. So I'm already starting to think about, okay, so when in my summer holidays can I put in some time in the diary to go and sit in the coffee shop and journal down and work out what the scheme of work might look like.
Yeah.
I can already implement the going and doing break time twice already, and we've got a couple of weeks left of term, so that means that I can do that. And in relation to the marking, there is again an opportunity to do that this term. And then again, sitting down and working out, going back over the scheme of work and going, right, where can I implement those? Where am I implementing them already, and where can I make that work more effective in the way that I mark?
Okay, fab. Thank you. And you said you liked a process, so the end bit of the process would be evaluation. How are we going to evaluate? How are you going to assess at the end of a year that these have been useful and they've had that impact?
So for the coaching, I did it with my Ireland project that I did before, where I got all my year sevens to do a Google form where they ended up telling me what was good and what could be improved on my subject. So I think the things that will know that I've been successful will be having done the project, having done the coaching unit, having planned it, presented it, given it, and then getting the feedback as to what has been successful for the students, because ultimately it's about them.
Yes.
So that's kind of an easy one. The marking is continual, so the conversation that takes place. It would be interesting also at the end of the term one of the things I've done. This is particularly with year 5 RS. This is what this is about at the moment. But with that, it'd be interesting to find out how a way we're doing a Google form where they can feedback to me what has worked, like a quick form on an iPad or on the back of their book as to how they found the year or the term.
Yes.
And then that would give me some more feedback. It's more difficult with going in and asking the teachers, have you felt the love today? It's like
oh, I'd love to see that on a Google form. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Wow, that's so funny. So you've talked through lots, right? And you've taken 3 really meaty and interesting different areas to explore. And certainly it sounds to me although I appreciate I'm an external, but it sounds to me like that these can add value in the different areas of your teaching practice, of supporting the development of students over there, but also supporting their pastorally. So as we bring this conversation to a close, next steps will be we have review meetings. We'll have informal ones where there'll be a semi-formal one halfway through the year before we review at the end. But the idea of actually there wants to be like a really informal flow of discussions about these targets throughout the year, because they're definitely part of your practice. So does that sound okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds
great.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what learning you've taken from putting these targets on the table and having a good bit of time to explore them.
I think that one of my strengths is responsibility, and I find the marking is particularly sensitive because I know that I could do better than that. And so as a standard for me, I'm marking below my standard. So that encourages me, that actually gives me some direction in terms of, all right, these are the things I can achieve moving forward, which is really positive. I'm really excited about the coaching and how that will look and how that will influence the culture within the school and add value to other lessons and other teaching environments within the school. Any skill that encourages kids to listen is going to be good, right? So that's good. So I'm excited about that. So that's kind of yeah, I think it's been good to reflect on that and see how it's all starting to come together.
Right, fab. Well, thank you for that. And on the practical nature, how clear are you? And you don't have to go through it now, but like on the tangible steps you need to take from target conversation to implementation.
Yeah, definitely. It's much clearer. And having written this stuff down as we've been going, I can see the steps I need to take moving forward.
Right, I'm really pleased. Well, can I really express appreciation? I think, I mean, it's joyful. It's always joyful talking to you, James, but it's really joyful hearing like your commitment, your passion, your enthusiasm, but also your honesty about naming areas that you would want to carry on improving on your practice. So thank you so much. Last question as we finish up. How are you feeling as we get to the end of this?
Yeah, good. Really good. I feel a bit vulnerable because talking about marking and not being quite where I wanted it is hard, but actually, yeah, I feel really positive about the direction that we're going, and I'm excited about what it's going to look like in a year's time.
Right, I'm really pleased. Well, listen, do not worry about the vulnerability because this is a private conversation between you and me, and our colleagues on YouTube who are going to see it. James, thank you so much. I really
No
appreciate it.
problems.
It's a real pleasure. Thanks.